The apartment smelled wrong. Not foul, not rotten, just wrong. It was the kind of stale, dusty scent that clung to your lungs, reminding you this place had been empty too long. Still, it was mine now. I told myself I didn't care. I had been searching for weeks, scraping together what little money I had left. Rent in this city was a nightmare, and this place was cheap. Too cheap. The landlord, a thin man with watery eyes and hands that never stopped twitching, gave me the keys without small talk. "9th floor," he said. "Don't bother with the E. 10th. Been sealed for years." He didn't explain why, and I didn't ask. By the time I'd finished dragging boxes from my car to the apartment, night had already fallen. My back ached, and my head throbbed. The furniture I'd brought barely filled the space. A sagging couch, a table missing a leg, my bed frame still in pieces. The walls were bare, paint peeling near the corners. I brushed my teeth in the bathroom, the cracked mirror above the sink reflecting a tired, hollow-eyed version of me. The fluorescent light overhead buzzed faintly. I spit into the sink, splashed water on my face, looked back up, and froze. My reflection was still brushing its teeth. For a second, I thought it was exhaustion. Maybe I had zoned out. But then, slowly, the reflection lowered the toothbrush and smiled. My lips didn't move. I dropped my own toothbrush, stumbling back. The reflection pressed a hand against the mirror. The surface rippled, like a pond disturbed by a stone. My heart pounded. My mouth went dry. Then the light flickered once, twice, and went out. The bathroom was swallowed in black, and in that silence, I heard it. Tap, 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 from the other side of the glass. I slammed the bathroom door and fled into the living room, curling onto the couch like a child hiding from monsters. My eyes stayed fixed on the hallway, waiting for something to emerge from the dark, but nothing came. The first night in the apartment left me restless. Every creak of the building set my nerves on edge, and the memory of that mirror wouldn't let me sleep. I drifted in and out of shallow dreams until my phone buzzed on the nightstand. 14 a.m. I squinted at the screen. A text message. "I'm outside." At first, I thought it was spam, some automated scam, but the message came from an unknown number with no profile picture, no name, just digits I didn't recognize. I rubbed my eyes and laughed nervously to myself. Outside? I lived on the 9th floor. Whoever sent it had the wrong person. I set the phone back down. It buzzed again. "Look." My chest tightened. I turned slowly toward the window, the blinds pulled tight. Against all reason, I slid out of bed, feet cold on the wooden floor. My fingers hesitated on the cord before tugging just enough to peek outside. That's when I saw it. A pale hand pressed against the glass from the other side, long fingers spread, skin so thin it almost glowed in the moonlight. I staggered back, my heart hammering against my ribs. My phone buzzed once more. "Let me in!" The words burned across the screen. I dropped the phone. It clattered against the floorboards, screen still glowing. My breath came in short, ragged bursts as I stared at the window, waiting for the hand to move. And then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, it was gone. The glass was empty, perfectly clean. I collapsed onto the bed, trembling, whispering to myself that it wasn't real, just exhaustion, stress. I told myself lies until I started to believe them. But as I pulled the blanket over me, I heard it. A voice, low, barely a breath, from the corner of the room. "Are you awake?" By dawn, I convinced myself it had been a trick of exhaustion, nothing more. But as I left for work, I glanced down the hallway toward the bathroom. The mirror door was open, and my reflection was smiling. The voice was soft. So soft I almost convinced myself I had imagined it. "Are you awake?" The words came from the corner of my bedroom, where the shadows pooled deepest. I couldn't see anything, but I knew. Something was there, watching. My throat tightened. My brother used to whisper those exact words when we were kids, sneaking into my room to scare me. For one wild second, I wanted to believe it was him somehow. But he lived 2 states away, and I hadn't spoken to him in months. I swallowed hard. Against every instinct, I whispered back, "Yes." The reply came instantly, sharp and breathy, like the speaker had been waiting for me. "Good. Don't look at me." My blood ran cold. I pulled the blanket over my head like a terrified child, my mind racing. The room seemed to hum. Every sound, amplified, the ticking of the cheap wall clock, the faint rattle of the heater, my own ragged breathing. The voice didn't come again, but I could feel it. The weight of a gaze, heavy, unrelenting, burning through the blanket. Every muscle in my body screamed to move, to run, to flee the apartment entirely. Instead, I lay still, frozen, praying the sun would rise soon. When it did, pale light spilling. Through the blinds, I forced myself to sit up. My chest ached from holding my breath for so long. The room looked normal, empty. But in the corner, on the wooden floor where the shadows had been thickest, there were 3 faint scratches. Parallel lines, as though something had dragged its nails across the boards, and they hadn't been there the night before. The day crawled by like a bad dream. I went to work, went through the motions, tried to ignore the tightness in my chest. But when I came back to the apartment that evening, the silence of the building felt different, thicker, heavier, like the air itself didn't want me there. I tried to focus on unpacking. The couch was in place, the bed finally set up. I even lit a candle in the living room to make the place feel less like a tomb. For a while, I almost convinced myself I was fine. Then the noise started. At first, it was faint, just a low scrape, like furniture being dragged across a floor. I froze, listening. It was coming from directly above me, but there was no one above me. I was on the top floor. The scrape came again, louder this time. I set my unpacked box aside and pressed my ear to the ceiling. Something heavy shifted, dragging, across the floorboards. My pulse hammered in my ears. The landlord's words echoed in my head. "Don't bother with the 10th. Been sealed for years." I forced myself to believe it was old pipes, settling wood, anything other than what it sounded like. But then came the footsteps, slow, heavy, pacing from one side of the ceiling to the other. Dust shook loose, sprinkling down on my shoulders. I couldn't take it anymore. I stormed down to the lobby, found the landlord behind his desk, half asleep, with a newspaper. "There's someone upstairs," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. Dragging things around, stomping. "I thought you said no one lived on the 10th floor." The landlord's eyes flicked up at me. For a moment, I thought, I saw fear in them. But then his face hardened. "There's no one up there," he said flatly. I opened my mouth to argue, but he cut me off. "Go back to your apartment. And if you're smart, stay out of that floor." He didn't say another word. That night, the scraping returned, louder, closer. At 3 a.m., I lay wide awake, staring at the ceiling, and then 3 knocks, directly above my bed. By the next evening, I couldn't stand the thought of going back to the apartment. Every corner felt like it was hiding something waiting to move. The ceiling groaned at odd hours. The mirror seemed to breathe when I passed. I couldn't focus, couldn't think. So I drove, aimlessly. Windows down, radio low, just trying to feel like the world was still normal. It was close to midnight when my phone rang. I jumped at the sound, gripping the steering wheel tight. My mom's name glowed on the screen. Relief flooded me. Maybe a familiar voice would ground me. I swiped to answer. "Hey, Mom," I said, trying to sound casual. But her voice wasn't casual. It was sharp, panicked, trembling. "Get out of the house now!" I blinked, confused. "What?" Mom, I'm not home. Get out! She screamed, cutting me off. Now, before he... The call dropped. My chest tightened. I pulled over, hands shaking, tried to call her back, straight to voicemail. I sat there in the dark, the only sound my car's engine humming. Then my phone buzzed again. Same number. Same name. I answered instantly. Mom? But the voice was different this time. Low, calm, almost amused. He's in your room. The line went dead. I froze, every nerve in my body screaming. My apartment key weighed heavy in my pocket. I wasn't home. But whoever, whatever it was, knew exactly where I lived. My eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, and my blood ran cold. For the briefest second, in the back seat, I saw a shape. A man, grinning wide, pale skin stretched, tight across his face. I spun around. The seat was empty. But when I looked back at the mirror, he was still there.